Hello and welcome. Let's turn off Desmos. We won't need that for today. We are starting writing and interpreting equations. Today's vocabulary, we only have two words we got to think about, equation and constraint. We've worked with equations before. They're algebraic expressions that are equal to each other, and a constraint is something that limits what we can do. All right. A mathematical statement that contains two expression and an equal sign is an equation. Again, equal, equation. Concept. Identify each unknown and assign a variable to it. Identify the givens and their relationship. Write a sentence as an equation. Writing equation for a sentence. 20 minus the quotient of 7 and x is the same as twice x. All right, so they did some translation for us. Let's do some highlighting. So 20 minus, right there. The quotient of 7 and x is the same as, there's our equal, twice x. So in writing this out, we would get 20 minus 7 over x equals, and we have no yellow, 2x. Write an equation for the sentence 4 times a number less 10, number less 10 is equal to 16. All right. Well, first up, we have equal to 16 is how it should end. Bam, 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 bam. That doesn't help us. Next up, we have 4 times a number. This is a typo. So it has to start with 4 times a number. 4 times the number. So can't be C because it doesn't start with 4 times. We have 4 times a number less, I'm going to say less than 10. No, that should be subtract. Oh no, this looks like a typo. This would be the 4 times the quantity of x minus 10, or the difference of x and 10. So that's not it. This one can't be it either because we're adding. So I'm going to guess this is supposed to be 4 times a number minus 10 is equal to 16. I don't know why they wrote less. That should be taken care of. Verbal phrase, when writing a verbal form of an equation, is and equal can be used interchangeably. Example 2. 719 surveyed about what they do online. Some use a social network. Of those on a social network, 430 say that their age are mostly kind online. The remaining 193 do not. Write an equation to find the number of teens surveyed who are not on a social network. Well, let n be the number of teens who are on a social network. Identify the givens and the relationship. How many teens were surveyed? 799. Some of the teams use social network. Blank, how many of those say they're mostly kind? 430. How many say they're not? 193. 430 and 193 make up the group that are in a social network. So if we want to find the ones who are not, we need to add those two together. Let's see, the sum of teens on a social network and those not on a social network is 799. So that's just giving us some information. So we know this whole thing is 799. So they wrote us the sentence, the sum. So we know 799 is our total, and that's going to equal 430 plus, 1 second, sorry about that, welcome back. So that's going to be 430 plus 193 plus I guess n's supposed to be our unknown, R naught, plus n. E2 has read 12 of 32 chapters in his assigned book. He plans to finish the book by reading C chapters each of 8 days until the book is due. Write an equation that represents this. All right. So there's 32 total. We see that all of these start with an equal 32. He's already read 12. And he's going to read C chapters every day for 8 days until it's done. All right. So he's reading C chapters each for 8 days. So that means each day is going to get C chapters. So that's going to be plus 8 times C. And that should equal 32. So it's not 12 minus. We're not dividing the chapters by 8. It says whatever the chapters are, they're going to read. They're going to do it every day for 8 days. So our answer would be C. This one, this is taking our remaining chapters and dividing it by 8. It's telling us how many chapters they're going to read a day, how many chapters total are left. But this way tells us what we have to multiply to get there. Example 3. Translate the sentence into a formula. The perimeter of a rectangle is twice the sum of the length and width. The perimeter, all right. So we have P equals all right, the perimeter of a rectangle is, we've gotten that taken care of right here. Twice the sum is twice the sum of. Now, twice the sum of, what this is setting up is that we have a 2, and then we're going to add something. Finally, it says the length and the width. So since that's length and width, we have length and width. All right. P is perimeter, L is length, and W is width. Twice means times 2. Twice the sums means you add, then multiply. The formula that represents this equation is P equals 2 length plus width. Translate the math sentence. The horsepower of a motor is the product of the motor speed and torque divided by 5252. All right. Horsepower is, so we have to have H equals the product of, so product tells us multiplication. So we have the product of motor speed and the torque. All right, so we're looking for motor speed and torque on top. So motor speed and, nope, torque's on the bottom. Motor speed and torque are on the bottom. Torque is on the bottom. Motor speed and torque are on top right here. And then it says divided by 5252. Divide by 5252. Our answer is B. Plain and cinnamon raisin bagels are most popular flavors each year. 24 million more. So we have 24 million more than twice as many packages of plain bagels are sold as cinnamon raisins. So this sentence right here, let's break this down. We have 24 million more than twice. Then twice as many packages of plain as cinnamon. All right, so cinnamon bagels equals 24 million plus 2 plain bagels. All right, there were 136 million packages of plain bagels sold last year. Create an equation that be used to find the number of bagels. Oh, well, here we did. We know that our variable, we now have that PB equals, so solve when PB equals 136 mil. Then times by 2, add 24 million. Looking for the relationship in an equation by interpreting each part of the expression in an equation. As you interpret an equation that represents a real-life situation, consider that the equation may be viewed as a constraint in the situation. In mathematics, a constraint is a condition that a solution must satisfy. These conditions limit the number of possible solutions. The solutions of the equation meet the constraints of the problem. Example 4. Write a math sentence for this equation. The difference of twice z and 1 is 5. The difference of, that sets up a subtraction problem, twice z and 1 is 5. All right, write a sentence for the equation. All right, so we have 6 times z, 6 times the number z minus 15 equal, yep, that's true. 6 times the quantity of a number z times, nope, not this one. So 6 times the difference of a number z, nope. That would be 15 and z subtracted times 6. 6 plus z, nope. 6 times a number z. All right, next up we have the quantity of quantity of y plus 3 squared, or it's just y plus 3. We have to say quantity. No, y plus 3 squared. Nope, because that's just saying the 3 is squared. Y squared plus 3. Nope. The quantity of y plus 3 squared. There we go. Y plus 3. Nope. Example 5. Write a sentence for an equation with grouping symbols. The parentheses tell us that 3 is 3 times the expression in the parentheses. The parentheses can be written as the quantity. Write y plus 1 as y plus 1, or the sum of y and 1. Write equals 12 as equals 12 or is 12. One sentence that represents this equation is 3 times the quantity of y plus 1 is 12. All right, next up, select the sentence that represents the equation. So we have 7 times the sum of p plus 23 is 102. So we have 7 times the sum, or 7 times the quantity. 7 times the sum. All right, so we have 7 times the sum of is the same as 102. All right, A is a strong contender. 7 times p plus 23. Nope, because that's going to multiply 7 and p first. 7 times the quantity p plus 23. Now this one, I'm going to be nitpicky here. This doesn't say the quantity of p plus 3. It just says the quantity p. So we're going to get rid of that one. This says 7 times the quantity p. Again, it's just saying p is the number plus 23. That's the quantity 7 times p. Absolutely not. 7 times the sum of p and 23. We have E and A. C could, but my problem is it doesn't say the quantity of, just says quantity P, so that could be a little misinterpreted there. 6, geometry. Write a sentence for the formula for the surface area of a rectangular prism. Surface area equals 2 times length and width times 2 plus length and height plus 2 times W and H. Then interpret the equation in the context. All right. The first term, 2WL, is 2 times the area of a rectangle. In the prism above, the area of the bottom face is length and width. The top is the same shape, so has the same area. The term represents both the sum of the. So all this is saying is 2 length times width is representing the area of the top and the bottom. That's what it's saying. Surface area equals, so 2 times length times width, 2 times width times height. The second term is the sum of the area of the front and back faces. The third term is area of the left and right faces. So the surface area of the rectangular prism is so it wants us to write it out now. Is the quantity of twice length times width plus twice length times height plus twice width times height. All right, last up. The formula for a loan balance is B equals P times 1 plus R over 12 minus D. If the previous balance is P, the annual interest rate is R for the payment D made. Write a sentence for this. All right. The balance equals the previous balance. All right. Where P is the previous balance. Balance equals the previous balance. The balance equals the previous balance. The balance equals the previous balance. Minus the payment can't be D. Previous balance multiplied by the sum of 1 and the annual interest rate. No, it doesn't talk about 12. Equals the previous multiplied by the annual interest rate. Nope. Multiplied by the quantity 1 plus the annual interest rate divided by 12 minus the payment D. Yeah, it's A. Select each statement that is correct interpretation of the equation in the context of the situation. The expression R over 12 represents the monthly interest rate. Yes, because you're taking the yearly interest rate and dividing it by 12. The expression P times 1 plus R over 12 represents the previous balance plus interest. Yes, as your previous balance, and that's going to show you the new interest. If no payments are made, then D equals 0, and the balance is the same as the previous balance. Yeah. If you don't make any payments, the balance, well, no, because if no payments are made, the balance is going to increase. The expression represents the monthly interest rate. Well, that's not the interest rate, but this is going to be a multiplier because that's 1 plus that. So it's going to be the interest rate. This one's showing the percent, and this one is a multiplier you can use. This one will have it as a decimal, though. If no payment is made, then D equals 0, and the balance is the previous balance plus interest. Yes. And that's it. Have a great day.